Let's talk about 10 guys, 10 targets who I expect to be available at the trade deadline or leading up to the trade deadline that could be huge difference makers for the Minnesota Twins. What's up? This is Tom Froming. The channel is TF Twins. We're going to get right into this, and I'm going to talk about some rotation guys first. Yes, rotation guys. Clearly, the bullpen is the biggest need for the Minnesota Twins. It is the thing that needs the most immediate attention. It's the thing that needs the most help. Taking a look at the division, taking a look at the AL Central, it's a weak division this year. The Twins are the only team in the division with a positive run differential right now. I've been calling this race the Turd Derby, is what I've affectionately called this AL Central race at the moment. It's certainly looking like the Twins are kind of rising to the occasion here, but this is not a good division. We'll certainly take this year over last year. Don't want to seem ungrateful, having a good time watching the team, but they are in as good of a position to be in the postseason as they are, mainly because they're in the AL Central. Now, what does that mean? If you're looking to just kind of win the AL Central, your goals, what you're trying to do here leading up to the trade deadline are going to be different than if you're really trying to build a team that can make some noise in October. And that's kind of the way I'm approaching this from, because you don't know how many opportunities you're going to get like this, where you find yourself in a year where the division is down, you've bounced back, you're back up there. I'm not saying I expect the Twins to push all their chips in and have like a World Series or bust kind of mentality, but they have a great advantage. Carlos Correa, who knows, maybe he's only here for 1 year. Might as well try to take a shot instead of just patching holes to see if you can win the division. So that really sort of colors where we're going to start here from in with the rotation, because I do think, the Twins might have enough starting pitching to win the AL Central. They have a pretty solid depth, certainly, with Chris Archer hitting the injured list today and Josh Winder just stepping right in. It's a nice situation for them to be in. You can never have enough pitching, though. And I think the Twins could use some top of the rotation help. I think that if you're looking at sort of your 3-4 guys, numbers 3-4 pitchers, I don't think the Twins really gain a lot from adding more of those guys, although again, you can never have too much pitching. So the 3 starting pitchers I want to throw out, it's probably no surprise. These are names that have been on the rumor mill since the offseason. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these guys, but Frankie Montas, Tyler Mahle, and Luis Castillo. The Montas of Oakland, Mahle, and Castillo from the Reds. This information I've got up here on the screen, the number in parentheses is their age. And then something I want to point out is all 3 of those starting pitchers, Montas, Mahle, and Castillo, are all free agents in 2024. So you're not only getting them for this year, you're also going to have them coming back for next season. So that's a nice little bonus there. It's not just a rental guy that you're bringing in. But I've got here, and we'll see this in the bullpen guys I have as well, ERA, WHIP, K percentage, walk percentage, and then some numbers you may or may not be familiar with, stuff plus, location plus, and pitching plus. I'm not going to get into that deeply in this video. If you're interested in those metrics, just look them up. Eno Saris of The Athletic is a guy who's really been sharing a lot of that information. Basically, 100 is league average. Anything above that is, obviously better. And that is for all pitchers. So, starting pitchers aren't going to have as high of numbers as relievers are on some of these, especially Stuff Plus. So take that into account. And with this trio of starting pitchers, again, like I said, I think these guys would really elevate the Twins' rotation. Montas, want to just throw out there that he did only throw 1 inning in his most recent start. There's some kind of injury clouds around him at the moment. We'll see. Hopefully he can kind of get back out there and sort of establish that he's all right as the trade deadline gets closer. Castillo, I don't have a lot to add on him. He's been a really good, solid pitcher for the Reds for multiple years now. So he would be a nice addition for this rotation. Tyler Mahle, though, kind of looks on paper like a guy, if you're looking at, especially at traditional stats, like a guy who's having a down year. From last year to this year, he saw his ERA increase from 3.75 to 4.48, and his WHIP increased from 1.23 to 1.30. But if you dig into some of the metrics, I'll pull up Baseball Savant here and kind of show some of the sliders. Those are a really good snapshot. There doesn't look to be a huge difference between 2022 and 2021 that especially the ERA would indicate. So, and it's not like his velocity is down. And there's really nothing under the hood that makes you concerned. In addition to that, you kind of just envision maybe getting a guy out of Cincinnati, out of just a horrible situation, and into a playoff race, into a contending team. That might kind of get an extra gear out of him as well. So I think if anything, maybe his trade value has been diminished a bit from it was this offseason. So we'll see what happens there. I still find him interesting. Maybe not a guy who's going to move the needle as much as a Montas or a Castillo, since Castillo has such a steady track record. But I still think he would be a very nice addition for the Twins. Moving on over to the bullpen, and this is a spot where I want to point out that I really focused on teams that I felt were already kind of out of it. Teams that were already more than likely out of the playoff hunt. If teams like Seattle, San Francisco, and Philadelphia in particular, those are three teams that are kind of hovering around 500. If those teams were to fall out of the race, there are some really nice pieces on those teams that I could see being very attractive on the trade deadline as well. But again, we're just focusing on these teams that are out of it. And you see here, this is kind of the 7 relievers that I came up with to throw at you with these 3 starting pitchers as well. David Robertson of the Cubs, Daniel Bard of the Rockies, Joe Jimenez of the Tigers, Anthony Bass of the Marlins, Jorge Lopez of the Orioles, Tanner Rainey of the Nationals, and David Bednar of the Pirates. And you can see as I have these ranked by the far right column of when are they a free agent. So the top 2 guys are going to be a free agent this off season, so they are just rentals, and you can see on down there just gets progressively longer. Basically, for the most part, you are going to have to pay more for the guys who are under team control longer and less for the rental guys. Just so happened that the 2 rental guys are also in their basically late 30s at this point, so that might impact some of their value as well. But something I also want to call out, these are all right-handed pitchers. I didn't do that intentionally, just kind of happened to be the guys I landed on. And, you can take a look at the numbers there. I've got all the same numbers up that I put up for the starting pitchers. And something I want to call out that might be an underlying factor on who I think might be really nice fits for the Twins is, considering that we've got a brand new pitching coach, a brand new bullpen coach, and a bullpen in which the 2 most reliable guys are in their first year in the role in Yohan Duran and Griffin Jax. I do think I'm a little bit more interested in a David Robertson or a Daniel Bard, guys who have been through, the battles. They've been up and down. At one point, both of those guys' career looked like they were over, and they found ways to reinvent themselves, to keep going there, and keep pitching. And they both have a lot of closing experience, tons of closing experience for David Robertson and Daniel Bard. I think that could be handy as well. Them being pending free agents, that might impact their trade value a little bit. They might be a little bit easier to get. So I think those guys kind of jump out. And then the next 2 guys, Joe Jimenez, and Anthony Bass, they are both under contract for next season. I think even though, obviously Duran and Jax are looking great and they're going to be around for a while, it would be nice. It would be nice to get some guys that were going to be in this organization beyond this season, because I don't, forecasting forward, I don't see a lot of hope for the bullpen to be a lot better next year. Obviously the bullpen is maybe the easiest part of your team to address and fix in a short order. So don't want to put too much onto that, but Joe Jimenez is a guy that's kind of been up and down and around, even though he's only 27 years old. He's on the upswing right now. Twins fans have probably seen him struggle quite a bit with the Tigers as well, but he's a guy with great stuff. Bass might, he lacks the closing experience, so that's one thing that is a bit of a ding. Usually I don't care at all about that, but this situation is unique. This is a weird situation for this current Twins bullpen, and I do think that has some value. Bass has saved some games. There's been some periods of his career he's been a closer, but I really like him. I think he's a really good pitcher and a guy who could really help solidify this bullpen. Jorge Lopez, who the Twins, hit the 2 walk-off home runs against earlier this week, and he gave up another home run since leaving Minnesota as well. So he's on kind of a tailspin. But he's been, the numbers don't lie. This guy's been pitching incredible. But he does not have as good of a track record, nearly as good of a track record as he's pitched to this year. I don't trust him that much given his track record going forward, but I do think he'll be a hot name on the market, and again, comes with multiple years of team control. Tanner Rainey is a guy that I really like. Kind of a lot of the things you could say about Tyler Mahle in a way are, you look at the ERA and you look at the WHIP and you say, well, Tanner Rainey's obviously by far the worst guy on this grouping that I picked here, but his stuff is outstanding. He throws hard. He does give up. He's a little bit of a homer prone. But when I look at his pitch usage, he's a guy that I could see where coming in, leaving Washington, coming into Minnesota, and just saying like, hey, throw more sliders, which is, a thing that the Twins have been kind of known for of late, is just having guys throw more off-speed stuff. I think that could be a huge X factor in unlocking Tanner Rainey, and he might be an absolute beast. And again, he comes with multiple years of team control. The Nationals are a team that, and we'll talk about with the next guy, the opposite thing is maybe true for them, but the Nationals are both old and bad, which is not what you want to be. So, under normal circumstances, I would say, well, let's think about it from the Nats' perspective. Why are they going to trade Tanner Rainey? Well, again, they're both old and bad, so, they might want to cash in on a reliever, a guy who's not, you're not going to really hoard bullpen guys when your team's not very good. Flip side, David Bednar from the Pirates, he might be kind of the hottest name on the relief market in terms of, like, what the Pirates are going to ask a ton. The Pirates are going to ask a ton for this guy. His trade value is super high right now. He had a great 2021. He is having a great 2022. And he, again, is not going to be a free agent until 2027. So you have this guy for a huge stretch, and he's pitching very well. I have some doubts that Pittsburgh is going to trade. I mean, you're going to have to pry him away from them, I think, because they're bad, but they're young and bad. They have some guys there where you can kind of see, and we've said this about the Pirates in the past before, but they do have some guys there where you can see, like, maybe this is a core that's coming up that might kind of be something here. And I think David Bednar, maybe, again, if they don't think they can compete between now and 2026, which might be the case. I'm not saying it's not, but man, is that a depressing, thing to send to your fan base. So I think, David, I'm not saying they're going to make David Bednar untouchable, but I think it's going to take a hefty price to get him away from Pittsburgh. But we'll continue to have these conversations. There's so many more guys. And again, as the picture of contending teams and sellers kind of gets more clear, there's going to be more teams to evaluate, more guys to talk about. But last thing I wanted to say, I didn't add any position players. I'm not saying like the Twins are just perfect there and there's nothing to address, but it's just so obvious that pitching is by far the bigger issue for this team right now, and the thing that they need to address and to push as many assets toward fixing as they can. Let me know what you think about those guys. Let me know who some of your favorites are, and we'll talk again soon.